I'm getting a call from Chris Neff right now, who's a very popular podcaster. Let's give him an answer here. Hey, what's up, Chris? How's it going, dude?
Not much. When did you change your name to Cult Meeting?
On Instagram?
Yeah.
Well, my handle is still keatonlhudema, but Cult Meeting is my website, cultmeeting.com.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm actually streaming on X right now. There's not many viewers, but I'm just trying to figure out a couple things here.
Okay.
I wanted to give you a call and see if you'd be interested in this podcast called Dopey. Have you heard of Dopey?
No. What is it?
Dopey Podcast is a very popular podcast. It's probably the number one podcast of drug stories. And so he brings people on. I know that you used to have a past in drugs, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure you have a bunch of interesting stories related to that.
Yeah, a few.
Yeah, he's a cool dude. I'm actually going to be going on there probably next week sometime. And
Is it on YouTube?
yeah, he's on YouTube, he's on Spotify and all that shit. And
Can you send me a link and I can check it out?
yeah, dude.
Remind me again, where are you at?
I'm out in Phoenix right now.
Gotcha. I heard it's fucking hot there, man.
Dude, it is. That's an understatement. It's fucking crazy here. But I think it's about to turn a corner. Hopefully, in a couple months, it'll start to cool down a bit. But yeah, I wanted to ask you about the Dopey thing because I think he'd be pleased with someone of your caliber being on there. I think he'd find your podcast very entertaining as well. So
Send me a link. Let me check it out, and then I'll see if I think it's a good fit for me. I just want to check it out. You know?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think you will be interested in it. But
What have you been up to?
Well, I've been trying to get this streaming thing going. It seems like X is a underrated platform for streaming right now. But I'm trying to figure out Streamlabs and sort of what's going on with it. But I've also been wondering where you've been at, dude.
So here's what's been going on with me. The podcast, which I love doing, we realized we should have gone with video. And the problem is I was spending too much money to get the scripts done. Because when I first started, I did them, and I did like 5 of them. And I was like, I don't have fucking 15 to 20 hours to do this. So I started outsourcing it. And, it cost me anywhere between $250 to $500 a script. And because we weren't getting enough numbers, and to be honest, money is so fucking tight right now. Not just me, but Dave. Dave lost his job. So he's been going job to job to job. My company's dead slow because I don't know if you heard, but I work in TV and film production, and I have a rental business, but all of my business goes to Hollywood. And these producers in Hollywood, they don't want to pay the below the line people that I work with, like set decorators and buyers. So they're sending all the work out of state because they don't want to pay health insurance for the union, which is called IATSE. So there's 2 locals. There's one in LA and there's one in New York, and they're supposedly going to strike at the end of the month if they don't come to a collective bargaining agreement. So everybody's kind of in this wait and see mode to see what's going to happen. But as a result, I'm not getting business. Or I'm getting business and they don't have the money, so you send them a quote and they're like, yeah, it's too expensive. So I don't know what that means moving forward, but I've been in business for like 15 years. So I know I'll survive. I've had down years, but this is like my worst down year in probably 10, 12 years. So it's just a hustle, dude, you know? And, you know, Dave's just trying to find work. He can't find anything. And it's just, California's a mess right now, man.
That's what I've been hearing. But I would argue that creatively, I don't know about this year, but at least the last couple of years for you with Down on the Docks, dude,
Yeah.
you fucking nailed it with just that premise and the model that you have for that. I think it's entertaining as shit, dude.
Oh, man, that means a lot. I think our plan is to eventually take it to video, but what I want Dave to be in a good place where he's not stressing about money, because he is, and more importantly, I've been working on my stand-up, so I can try and get some eyes on me that way, so then I could bring somebody in, bring more viewers into the doc and or listeners. But I've been getting up 6 nights a week. So I get out of work, I go to a show, I don't get home till like 1. I go to sleep at 5, and then I get up at noon and I go to work. But I've been writing a crazy amount of material, and at some point I'm going to go back to the clubs in LA and see if anybody's interested in, you know, recording an hour. But, you know, it's like I had to just start fresh from scratch and, you know, write every day and then memorize and then go do these shows, and it just takes it out of you. And I was like, fuck it. I need to be able to do stand-up because it makes me happy, but I don't want to go back to the clubs until my material's on point. And, you know, I've been writing like 5 minutes of new material a week since September. But you take that bit, you got to go put it up 5 or 6 times, see if it works, you know?
Right.
But I need to get back in to the good clubs to see if anybody's interested in my material, so I can try and get, you know, a Netflix special or an Amazon, you know?
Right.
So that's what I'm focused on right now.
Dude, you can make it happen. And, I mean, I haven't watched much of your stand-up, to be honest, but if it's anything like your podcast, you're going to nail it.
Well, I'll send you some clips if you're interested in seeing what I'm working on, but I am purposefully not clipping material and putting it out there because I don't want to eat into my material. You know?
Right.
It's like my goal is to go back to the store, go back to the Improv, go back to the factory in the fall with this material and see if anybody is interested in it, you know, because I've been fucking fine-tuning this shit, and I am doing an hour in August, so I'm going to record that, but I don't want to go self-record and then try and sell to a network. What I want to do is get back in the clubs, get a little heat, and I've got some really good friends that have their own deal with Netflix, and they're super successful in producing, but they're not on the comedy side. But get them to come see me, and I went to college with one of these guys and say, hey, can you send a comedy development person out to come see me? So that's my plan that I'm working on. But I'm not going to burn my material by putting it out online. You know what I mean?
No, that's very smart. Unless it's some kind of crowd work thing that could go viral. Yeah, I don't know how into crowd work you are. Yeah, so if that's not your thing, then there's no reason not to just sit on it and wait for an opportunity. You know?
Well, and I do tons of crowd work when I'm on the road. Like, if I'm doing an hour, fuck yeah, I'll do crowd work. But around town, I am just hitting spots doing, you know, anywhere between 5 to 12 minutes, but I'm just working bits. And, you know, what I think has happened to comedy is that it's died because influencers have come out, they've taken over the clubs. You know, like the San Diego Comedy Club or American Comedy Club, they'll book anybody in there that's got TikTok followers, but they're not stand-ups. And then you see all this crowd work that's going out, and it's shit. And crowd work is an art form into itself, but at the end of the day, the buyers and sellers of comedy aren't going to buy crowd work sets. They're going to buy well-crafted material. You know what I mean?
Right. That would be more of like a TikTok, YouTube sort of sensation thing with the crowd work.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
But I've been doing stand-up for 20 years, but, you know, during the pandemic, I stopped, and I took 3 years off, and I was like, fuck, I got to get back to it. And, you know, I did an album in 2013, but it was audio only. So in the last, you know, year, I've cranked out 2 hours of material just by doing material, writing every day. So I'm in the groove. I want to stay in the groove as long as I can. But then I need to go back to the clubs where quality people can see me, and then call in some favors from some people I know and say, hey, can you get the development side out to come see me? Because I've been hustling and working these bits. So, yeah, I want to go back to the podcast, but at the same time, I got to create my own avenue and get some heat on me because of my material.
Yeah, and it's only a matter of time, dude. Like, you are one of my top 3 up-and-comers right now who is just going to explode out of I know you're going to fucking explode at some point. So, and I've probably had as much podcast listening time as anyone in the last 10 years.
Right.
You are one of the big talents right now that's going to pop off at some point. So
I appreciate that, dude.
I'm excited for you.
I would love to send you some video and to get your feedback on my material if you're interested.
Oh, absolutely. And since you're discussing all this writing you've been doing as of late, I've been calling pretty much whatever influential people I can lately, and as a icebreaker, like I just called Andy Dick and probably got like a half hour from him the other day. But the icebreaker I've been asking about, what is your take on this fucking Trump shooting that just happened?
So here's the thing. I don't do political material, and I never have. But I can tell you my honest take is I believe it was an assassination attempt. I believe the fucking kid acted alone as of now, but it's way too early to tell. But I would not be surprised if it was a conspiracy by the opposing party. I don't think the Republicans had anything to do with it.
Right. Yeah, and I'm actually on the same page with you. It seems like just this crazy kid got lucky, got an opportunity that he wanted, and something terrible happened. So, yeah, it's too early to tell. We're gonna have to hear more that comes out. Maybe in a couple years we'll have a solid story about it, but who the fuck knows?
Yeah, but then again, we probably won't know till 2085 because they'll fucking close the files like they did the JFK files, which we still haven't got the full release from.
Exact. This is JFK Part 2. It ticks all the boxes, right? Of just the perfect little conspiracy, the new perfect conspiracy.
And I could talk JFK all day long and give you my opinions on that and my theories, but this is too fresh. But it's the government. Are we ever really going to know the fucking truth? Probably not.
Right. It's all speculation. Anybody who pretends that they know, it's just ridiculous.
They're just out for views and clicks, man.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's going to be wild whatever happens with the rest of this race. But I'm so checked out of the political scene because I remember when Trump was in office and I would watch the news and I'd watch every night, and I don't want to go back to that person where the daily news is, a part of my life. Watching and obsessing about what this fucking weirdo's done or hasn't done. So no matter who wins, I'm not going to fucking make it a part of my life. Because I need my free time is so precious. I got to create.
Yeah, your life is for you, and I've actually noticed that about you. You've been very wise with your optics and how you've kind of avoided all the bullshit. And
Oh, I do not get involved, bro.
no, it's smart. And maybe there will be a documentary that comes out on it one day, and then you can cover it. You know.
Yeah, and like I said, I've also been making lists of docs that I want to cover. And my hope was AI would get so good that I could just be like, hey, give me, what do you call it? Give me a full script for this documentary. And it's just not there yet. And, you know, it takes time to fucking write that shit out and make it clean. And I just don't want to spend the money right now. And more importantly, I don't want to work with Dave until Dave's in a good place, because there's nothing more stressful than working with somebody who's stressing about money. And,
Totally.
you know, he lost his fucking job, and I feel bad for him. But, you know, he's been searching for 4 months and cannot find a fucking single thing to do. And he's talking about working at Taco Bell. And I'm like, bro, you can't work at Taco Bell.
Well, Dave is fucking hilarious. Once you guys' podcast pops off, I hope that you can both just dedicate full time to it, because you couldn't have found a better co-host than that guy. That guy's hilarious.
I love hearing that, because he is who he is. I don't want to change him. And the dynamic, I think, is great, because he's full-blown fucking on the conspiratorial spectrum, and I'm the opposite, and I try and balance it out. You know?
Yeah,
So,
that's perfect. You're kind of the straight man, and he just kind of is able to go off the rails. It's perfect. It really is.
yeah, and I try and rein him in. And then the other thing is, I'm still involved with a lawsuit with Cash Daddies. So,
Are you serious?
that's still, oh yeah, dude, I sued them. So, you know, they fucked me over. Once the money started coming in, they didn't want to pay me. And, Sam Tripoli's ego is out of his control. And, they offered me less than what I invested in it. And after doing 1.5 years of work, I said, this is an acceptable offer. So, increase your offer, or I'll see you in court.
Well, I'll tell you what. That show has not been entertaining. I have not even watched it since you left. You made that show, dude. So the value that you would get from that lawsuit is well deserved. You pretty much made that show. Came in at the perfect time when GME was popping off, and you know, you I'm sure you deserve whatever you are seeking there.
I just want what's fair. And, you know, we formed an LLC that was a 25% split. And then Evan didn't want to do the show anymore. So when Evan left, we brought Johnny on, and we all agreed to a quarter split. But the problem is, we never signed the actual LLC document, but we were operating under it. So we had a bank account that was attached to the LLC. And we were paying vendors out of the LLC. But then once all that Patreon money started coming in, how we took that money and put it directly into his personal account. And when I found out about that, I fucking flipped.
That's
So I was
absolutely
like, this is not
ridiculous.
right. This needs to go through our bank account. And I was like, this is insane. But the whole reason the podcast imploded was I got a call. I hope you have time, and I'm not telling you all that shit.
I have as much time as you do, man. This is perfect.
So the way it happened was, you remember when Celsius went under?
Yes.
Okay, well, Stan had all of his money in Celsius in an earn account, okay?
Right.
He had 8 Bitcoin in there. So it was basically just like, you guys are fucked. You're not getting this money back. And he had been telling people Celsius is the way to go. So when it went under, I got a call from Howie. And Howie said, I don't think Sam wants to do the podcast anymore. And I said, why? And he goes, because he feels like he's giving bad financial advice, and he's fucking he's cost money to his friends, and he doesn't want to do it. I said, dude, I work 15 hours a week on this podcast, whether it's tweeting or whether it's responding to our fans. And I said, he can not do the podcast, that's fine, but I'm going to continue to do it. So I think everything's normal at that point. And then, do you know who Dana is?
Dana? Was that his wife or something? His girlfriend?
Yeah. So Dana is like 70 years old, right? Sam, it's fucking gross. Sam has been living with her for probably 20 years. Now, I've been close to Dana. I've known Sam for 23 years. Well, once Sam knocked up that stupid chick and had twins, she would call me and she'd be like, I don't know what to do. Should I stay with him? And I'm like, I can't tell you what to do. That's your personal life. But the point is, she hasn't been working for years. And, Sam's paying for her. She's got a gambling addiction. And then on top of that, he's got his kids to pay for. So Dana calls me that same day after Howie said Sam's doesn't want to do the podcast. And I said, Dana, you got to convince Sam to stay on the podcast, okay? Because there's a synergy between the three of us that works. And she goes, well, Sam feels bad, and the Celsius thing really hit him hard. And she goes, but we're going to get 50% of it back. And I said, Dana, I don't want to burst your bubble, but that's not what I'm hearing. I'm hearing it's all gone. And she flipped on me. She goes, you wouldn't even be on this podcast if it wasn't for Sam. And I said, excuse me? And she goes, you wouldn't even be on this podcast if it wasn't for Sam. And I go, you're not even involved. I said, we have a partnership and your name is nowhere on these documents. So don't ever fucking talk to me that way. Well, Sam calls me up a couple days later. He says, I'm pissed. And I go, I'm pissed too. I go, I don't want your old fucking lady talking to me that way because she's not involved in any of this.
Right.
It was just that simple. I was like, put a fucking leash on your lady because I ain't going to have her talk to me this way. And then it turned into Johnny calling me saying, Sam's not going to do the show unless you apologize. And I'm like, I'm not apologizing for shit. I do not take shit from Sam's old lady. We have a business agreement, a partnership. All four of us are attached to it. She's not involved. So then I get a call. Johnny's like, okay, so we want to buy you out. And I go, cool. And then, we'd all agreed to 25%. So I said, give me 8% moving forward in perpetuity if I'm not going to be on the show. And they were like, that's too much. And I go, no, it's not. I'm supposed to get 25 and you're taking away my future earning capability. So then Johnny calls me and he says, what if I give you my 5%? And I said, yeah, I'll do that. Well, Sam kiboshed it and said, by the way, Sam never called me because he's such a little pussy. So then Johnny calls and says, Sam's going to offer you $5,000. And I go, dude, I put $5,500 into this shit already. Okay? And now that the money starts coming in, our first Patreon check was like $15,000 for a month. And I go, that's ridiculous. That's not even going to fucking break me even. And that was it. And I said, I'll see you in court. So as soon as I told them, I'll see you in court, my lawyer called them up, said, hey, we need all the financials because we are going to sue you. No response. So then I get another message from my lawyer, and they dissolve the LLC, which they claim doesn't exist. So when I sued them, they said there was no LLC that was formally signed. Even though I have documentation where we're all talking about this in threads and like text, we're all agreeing to 25%. Chris, go get the bank account. I set up the bank account. I set up the LLC. I did all that. We filed taxes under the LLC. Okay? Then they come back and say the LLC doesn't exist because it was never actually signed. Well, that's fine, but that's a really weak argument. And why would you go just dissolve an LLC if you're saying it never existed? More importantly, they brought Evan back in to sign that piece of paper, even though he was no longer involved. So it's dirty, sketchy, and they still are still using my name to promote and advertise this podcast. That's how fucking dumb they are. If you go to fucking Instagram, it's still my name. If you go to fucking the website, which they stopped paying the bills for, and YouTube, it still has my name on it. That's how fucking dumb these guys are. So they filed motions to dismiss, and last week the judge just came back and said, no, Mr. Ness proven more than enough, in whatever evidence to proceed with the lawsuit. So now they've got to decide what they want to do, because they either gamble with me and go to court and lose and have to pay me, or they either gamble with me, go to court, lose, have to pay me, and then the knowledge is public. And if Sam cares about his reputation, he's going to fucking settle. But I think he's a broke dick, and I don't think he has the money to do it.
Dude,
So that's where we're at.
what a ridiculous fucking reason to destroy something as beautiful as what you guys had. You were basically just popping the hopium bubble that she had of like, oh, we're going to get it all back. And Celsius is still not giving much back, right?
No, from what I understand, Celsius paid back. There's two different accounts. If you had an interest earn account, you're not getting anything back. But if you were just holding it there for them to basically, lend out, I think they're clawing back some of it. But to my knowledge, Sam was in the interest account because he was saying, yeah, I'm getting 20%. So that's an earn account. So I don't know. I haven't looked at Celsius. I don't give a fuck. But my whole thing is, you basically sold me out to your fucking old lady because I don't take shit from her. And she didn't want to hear the bad news, which is you're not going to get that money back. Because he told her, I'm getting the money back. She'd always tell me, we got to buy a house with Sam's Bitcoin money. Well, that never happened. It's all gone. And his fucking ego couldn't handle it.
Yeah, so you turned out to be right about what you told her. She exploded this fucking project that could have been still going to this day. It's ridiculous. That's I'm sure every fan that was watching at that point was, dying of curiosity. What the hell happened? It better have been a good reason. And that's just such a piss poor reason.
Well, the other thing about this whole situation is Sam and Howie made the decision, and I think it was a setup. I don't think Sam ever wanted to quit. I just think they wanted to squeeze me out, because once the money started coming in, Howie said I should get more of the money because I'm doing the what is it called that he does, his picks? And I was like, no, you don't get more money just because you're writing a newsletter, bro. I fucking do the social media. Johnny does the edit. We all have parts to this, so you don't get more. And that was my concern. I was just like, no, dude, we had this agreement. We all agreed. It's a split 4 ways. And, they didn't want to abide by it. But I have so much documentation where we discussed this that the evidence is pretty powerful. And, Sam can do what he wants, but it's not really about the money for me. It's more about getting, a decision from the judge and saying, hey, just so you know, I sued Sam for fucking fraud and I won.
Right. It's a verbal agreement. It sounds like you have some written documentation as well, so.
Tons. And not only that, I already did my exhibits, and I've been through one other lawsuit before, and doing that shit is tedious and it takes time, and I have 70 exhibits, and it probably took me a week to do, and I know Sam isn't smart enough to do that. I don't think he has the attention span to do it. So, it's not something you just go to your lawyer and say, hey, go through my phone and find all the information. You have to fucking know it yourself. Look at this text, do this, do that. And I don't think he's got the wherewithal to do it. And then more importantly, my lawyer, who I trust implicitly, who won my last case, which was for a trademark infringement through my company, he knows the lawyer that Sam hired. And he goes, this dude is notorious for just milking his clients. So, You know, he's probably one of those guys that sees Sam as a paycheck.
Of course. That is what it is.
Yeah.
God, what a shitty reason to end something that good. And I don't know how their numbers are doing these days, but entertainment wise, it will never be as entertaining as it was when they had the three of you on there. I mean, fuck Howie. I don't find him very entertaining. He may have had some good picks, but that means nothing if you're not bringing the entertainment value. It's a podcast, you know.
But they told me that I had to tone down what I was bringing to the show. And I said, what are you talking about? I said, this isn't a financial podcast. This is a comedy financial podcast. And Johnny said, well, Sam gets mad when he's the butt of the joke. And I said, are you out of your fucking mind? He's been calling me a tranny for a year and a half, and I roll with it. And I was just blown away. And Johnny's like, I've been through this with him on Punch Drunk. He would get mad when, you know, he's the butt of the joke. And I'm like, I'm the butt of the joke in this podcast. And I let it roll off my back. For comedy's sake.
I actually remember that. I don't even remember Sam being the butt of the joke, but I do remember the tranny jokes at your expense. So.
That's all he would do. And I was like, fine. But I was never like, dude, stop calling me a tranny. You know, you hurt my feelings. And dude, they were never prepared. They would show up. They didn't have anything to contribute. I would write outlines, talking points, all that shit. They wouldn't do any of that. So I'm not surprised it fell off. I've not watched a single episode since I left. I do want to be compensated for what I put on the show, but money is not my biggest motivation. My biggest motivation is letting this fucker know that you can't do that. And he destroyed a 23-year friendship with me because of it.
God damn it, dude. But, I mean, you flipped the script. You turned it positive for yourself as well as you could have, because I personally find Down on the Docks to be 5-10 times more entertaining than that show was. It's a different show, but, you know.
But it needs to be on video, and that's the thing. We just didn't have the capabilities at the top, and you know, Dave's like, oh, it'll be easy. Well, Dave's not great at producing and cutting video, and like, if I do it, I want to do it right, so we have an editor like Johnny. So all Dave has to do is come in and do his shit, and then not worry about, you know, editing. So my whole thing today was, let's just wait, and more importantly, to continue what you were saying, when I left, I was like, I need to go back to doing what I do best, which is stand-up. So I was doing stand-up, and I was doing the podcast, but once the podcast ended, I just went full bore into stand-up. And I've literally written the best fucking material of my life in the last 2 years, and I want to have 2 separate specials, but I want to get them, you know, on a platform where I can get some heat on. Then I can go back to the podcast and bring in other viewers. That's kind of like how I have it in my head.
Well, I'd be curious to ask more about what kind of video elements you think are necessary for it. It's already amazing, but if you guys put it on YouTube with some visual elements, that would make it twice as big. I would love to help out, dude. I would love to help out with writing a free script for that Kings with Straw Mats documentary. I think it would be a good one for you.
Let's trade emails, and then I'll send you a sample script so you have an idea of like what the script needs to look like. And I'll send you video of a couple of shows that I've recorded recently so you can check out the material I'm working on, and we'll go from there.
Please, dude. That sounds amazing. And yeah, just send me that format. I will make it within that format to the letter, because I want to be a part of it, dude. I think that'd be amazing. Once like Dave is ready.
I said, I want to bring in a third person on Down on the Docks to produce it. So for that means like doing video editing. You know, that means somebody bringing in ideas, you know, because all I do is I take the script once Jessica would give it to me, then I rewatch the documentary and I add things that I think are interesting. A lot of it's stuff I pull off Wikipedia or various things, and I add it in there. So, that's my process. But if I had the scripts, it would be a huge, huge advantage. And I was paying too much. And Jess is very good at what she does. She's very meticulous, and I wanted them that way. But it was a money issue at the time.
Yeah, $200-$300 per script. I completely understand that, but I'd be happy to help out with 1 or 2 perfect scripts as a proof of concept.
Sure.
I'd love to help out, man. I think what you have is amazing.
I would love that. What's your knowledge when it comes to like editing video or producing?
Editing, I mean, I have no experience producing a podcast besides my own. I can work my way around iMovie and shit like that, but
right.
My strong suit would really be the scripts and the ideas. As you said, you need some ideas.
Right.
So as far as ideas go, dude, I really think we could be a power team.
Let me talk
once
to
you
Dave,
see it.
because I'm all about bringing costs down and saying, hey, because I even mentioned this to him before. I said, why don't we bring on a producer, give him a percentage, so we could have the production value go up if we went to video. But I would also be interested if somebody was doing it with the scripts as well. But I have to talk to him about the numbers. Because right now, Dave and I, we just have a 50-50 handshake deal, but I put out all the money for everything, whether it be, production equipment or scripts, whatever. So, I don't want to know how much I'm into the pod. It's probably $8 or $10 grand, which is, normally I would say is not a lot of money for me, but when I don't have money coming in like I used to, I feel it,
Totally.
But the other thing is, leaving Cash Daddies gave me the time to go out and write and do stand-up. And I have no life, dude. I turn down pussy, I turn down fun. Because I go home after work, I write, and then I fucking go perform 5 nights a week.
Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah, you're in a creative...
Shoot me.
Yeah, I'll shoot you my email right now. We'll trade that shit, and...
Yeah, and I'll shoot you some video, and, I've been in comedy for 23 years. Be brutal. If you hear something I'm doing in a bit that you think's already been done or not, it's not funny, let me know.
Absolutely. I don't expect that that'll happen, but writing is my background. I think I could at least do a style editing or whatever you need. So,
Feedback.
Yeah, we'll get back about it, man. And depending on how complex the editing is, I may be able to help you out with that as well. But yeah, we'll get back to you on that.
Okay, cool, man. Well, yeah, don't forget to send me the link to Dopey as well.
Yeah, because you would be a perfect fit for that. If you have 1/10 of the drug stories that I expect you have, he would be extremely interested in that.
All right, I've got some in a couple of bits that I'm going to send you as well that I've already recorded.
Awesome, perfect, okay. Dude. All right, appreciate you, Chris. I'll text you right now. Thank you, bro.
Good to hear your voice.
Bye now.
All right, bye.
So that was Chris Neff. We just got an inside scoop, an extremely valuable inside scoop that I did not expect about a podcast that I used to be a huge fan of, Cash Daddies, with Sam Tripoli and Howie. I think his name's Howie Dewey. But they brought in this guy, Chris Neff, who's an amazing comedian. He's been on Ari Shaffir's Skeptic Tank. He's done some great work. But lately he's been working on this show that's his show, Down on the Docks. One of my top 10 podcasts right now. It is a documentary overview and commentary every episode.
Yes. Just a couple things I wanted to say. If anyone, I heard Sam Tripoli is involved in a lawsuit here. This is all I heard. That. Sam Tripoli, and they're suing him for fraud. They said. I know nothing about it. I hope that's not the case. And if Sam needs my help in any way, brother, you know I am there. So that's that for Sam. I hope he's doing okay. And if anyone knows any details, if he's not doing okay, please let me know. Thank you. Coming soon.
Okay, we got another call from Chris Neff. I'm going to do right now. He just called me back. So let's see what's up. Hey, bro.
Hey, so, do you mind deleting that, please?
I mean, if I private it, would it really matter after the lawsuit is completed?
That's not my concern. My concern is I don't want it around because I don't want you getting dragged into this. And if it doesn't exist, then I don't have to deal with it.
What would, let's just say it's as bad as, let's just say it's the worst case where they did have it, which I doubt because it's only been 24 hours. It's not just that.
I'm talking about my act and my life, and I don't want that out there as well either. I just don't want it out. It was a mistake. You said live streaming and recording, and I took that to mean you were doing like something on your own. I didn't know you were recording. So it's not just what I said. It's just too much personal information about what I was talking about. And I would prefer it if you just deleted it.
Okay, I'll take it down. But what I was saying was, let's just say it is the worst case that you're thinking. I seriously doubt it because it's been like less than a day. But
yeah, I'm not that concerned either.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have said those things if I knew you were recording it.
Okay.
So, you know.
And I have mad respect for you. So yeah.
Oh, dude, I know it was a misunderstanding. You got to remember, I was in the fucking weed killer aisle when so I didn't know you were recording it.
Okay. Let's just say that though. That's no problem. Just consider that done. But let's just say that there was some kind of subpoena type deal. What would that entail?
Dude, I don't know. That's why I don't want to have to deal with it.
I mean, I'm not too concerned about it. I imagine it would just be like, here's the video. That's all it is.
Right. And I don't want to deal with that because it would just be another headache. You know, I gave a testimony that I thought was in confidence, and that's my issue.
You thought it was the case, yeah.
You know, there's a lot that I wouldn't have said to you had I known I was being recorded. For public consumption. You know, I certainly wouldn't have talked about my personal finances. You know what I mean? And that's important to me, and I don't want that. I don't want that existing anywhere.
Okay, and if it was a misunderstanding, I'm
that's what I'm saying.
sympathetic
I'm not
to
mad.
that.
It was
no, yeah.
Misunderstanding.
I wouldn't expect you to be mad because, as you said, you watched it over. I probably said in the first 30 seconds, you know. So, no, it's fine, dude.
Yeah,
no
I would prefer if it didn't exist. So then, if somebody said that it did, then and somebody asked you for it, you can say it doesn't exist. Because the last thing I need is another delay tactic from these guys.
Yeah, which I certainly wouldn't want that to happen.
Them, like somebody could have said, "Oh, did you hear Neff spilled the beans and said a bunch of shit?" You know, and I wouldn't have talked about Dana and her shit had I known you were recording it. I just wouldn't have gone there. I wouldn't have given you that much detail.
For sure.
The last thing I need is a coked out Sam Tripoli, you know, running into him in a comedy club and saying, what'd you say about my old lady, bro? And, you know, just he's not a healthy person, and I don't need to deal with any of that. you know.
For sure.
That's my concern. You know, there was my personal information I shared with you, and I would have shared that with you if I'd known it was being broadcast anywhere.
That's okay. And I'm sympathetic to that.
Yeah, and after it's all over, I'll gladly sit down with you, and you know, I'll give you the scoop, as it were, if you want it. You know, if I feel like I can, unless it's some sort of what do you call it? There's a non-disclosure agreement on a settlement, and I can't talk about it, then I won't. But you know, as far as I'm concerned, it's public knowledge. It's public record what I'm suing him for. You can do anything you want with that. You know, all you got to do is just go to the LA Superior Court and pull up the filing. That's all public record. I just don't want anything that I said personally in what I thought was a confidential phone call out in the ether. So
that's okay. Like I said, I'm extremely sympathetic to that. Maybe at some point after the lawsuit is complete, we can revisit this or a portion of it that you'd be okay with. But no, that's totally good. That's fine.
Yeah, and it's just because his lawyer is a master at delay tactics, and all it does is clog up my lawyer's time and my finances by me having to respond to it. And they've tried everything, and you know, the judge just denied their last demurrer and motion for a dismissal. And I just don't want them to have any other shit they could possibly deal with. So, and nothing I said was untrue. It's just I would have held back, and I wouldn't have said a few specific things had I known, you know, you're recording the call.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's my concern. It's just, I'll gladly sit down and talk to you on the record if I know I'm on the record, but I just did not realize I was on the record.
Well, off the record, I was wondering, because I had seen you did a skeptic tank a few years ago. I was a huge skeptic
Ari?
tank guy. Yeah. Were you tied with him at one point?
Oh yeah, Ari and I will always be friends. Yeah, Ari's a great dude.
Yeah, that's cool. I was a huge fan of it, and then after I had come around to being a fan to you, I was like, oh shit, I didn't even realize he was on here. That was one.
Yeah, we did. We started together in probably 2000 doing stand-up, and we've always been friends. We've toured together, both with Tripoli and Rouse, and then just the two of us, you know? So he's a good friend. He's always going to be a good friend to me.
Nice,
so,
man. Nice.
Yeah.
Well,
but yeah, I just don't want to have to deal with this if a lawyer got involved and they were like, you need to produce the an exhibit, and if it doesn't exist, then it's not an issue.
Like I say, I'll do on my end whatever you want, I guess.
Just kill it. I just don't want to have to deal with it. And I'm sure, like, there was a comment on there that said, I heart tinfoil hat, blah, blah, blah. So I'm sure whoever that is probably already relayed them to it. I don't think that this video caused them to delete me off the YouTube, which is one of my pieces of evidence, because I'm still up on the Facebook Cash Daddies. So I'm guessing that this wasn't a direct response to that, or they would have done them both. So
yeah, and I think you were on the Reddit as well.
What's that?
I think you were on the Reddit as well on their description.
I am. So I'm still on the Reddit, and I'm still on the Facebook, which the whole point is it's negligence on their part, and they're using my likeness without permission. I'm guessing that they changed the YouTube in the last month because somebody told me they started doing live and they're monetizing live shows. So I'm guessing they noticed it there, but it's part of my lawyer strategy to keep those exhibits and show them in discovery, because we haven't used any of those exhibits in the process of defending my complaint. Because he said, I want to save those for later. So I just didn't want them having that knowledge, and I knew I said that in that video. So, but I don't think it's direct from what you put out, because they would have changed multiple things. They would have gone to the Reddit. They would have gone to the Facebook. And those are still up. So, and I want them to stay up just to show how stupid they are, because the longer they keep those up, the longer it shows the court that they're negligent in utilizing my name and likeness without my permission.
Sure. And, you know, as I said, I feel bad because I thought I gave you enough of a heads up, but
I didn't, it just didn't connect when you said it. When you said I'm live streaming and recording, it went over my head, and I probably took that to mean you could be doing Twitch or doing a game or whatever. I didn't know I was live on your show. So, like I said, it's nobody's fault. It happened, but I don't want, something out there that I would have said, I hadn't said had I known the circumstance.
Yeah. And I'm a friend. So, anything I can do to help, just let me know.
Hey, I'm going to email you a script later tonight, so you have, a template for the straw mats thing. And like I said, Dave and I will record it once we can. But yeah, my other concern is I just talk too much about my personal finances, and I don't want that information going out there. Because I talk about my company and I say what I'm doing in my company. And I've always separated my business from my stand-up, because I've had a couple fucking people in my life, like I've had 2 stalkers from stand-up, and I don't want anybody ever like saying, oh, well, I know what he does on the side, I'm going to go fuck that up. And I talked about that in the video. I mentioned that I'm in the gym equipment rental business. It would be very easy for somebody to just, fuck with my company. Pretend to be a customer, waste my time, whatever.
I will say I watched it back after just to double check after I messaged you. I don't think you said gym equipment rental or anything like that. You may have said something which whatever.
I know I said I'm in the rental business, which I am.
Okay, rental. I think you may have said film business or something. Whatever it fucking is. It'll be taken down tonight. It's all good.
Yeah, just nuke it. It doesn't mean to exist. And if anything comes up, then, we'll deal with it then. But you have the right to do whatever you want. And I have the right as, somebody who's a friend and also, a creator to say, I misunderstood, what you were doing. But yeah, there's no way I would have brought up specifics about my personal life, especially my business. I don't want it out there.
I completely understand.
And just to give you an example, we do this, I've recorded podcasts even with cash shadows where we have to go make edits because somebody will be like, oh, you mentioned how much you bought your house for. And, there's some shit I don't want anybody knowing.
No, you're fine. And I guess you had said you had 2 stalker experiences. What was the craziest thing about that?
There was a woman that kept coming to my shows, and I'll just tell you the all-time worst. This girl was named Dina Merrill, and she started coming to my shows, and she came to 3 shows in a row. And on the 4th one, she introduced me, and she said, I'm your number 1 fan. I'm like, oh, that's sweet. And then, at the time, I think it was Facebook, or maybe it wasn't MySpace. It was probably Facebook. And then she just started messaging me incessantly, telling me that she was in love with me and that we were destined to be together. And it was just to the point where I would go do a show and she would be there. And she'd always be sitting there. And then she was like, why don't you find me attractive? And I'm like, you're just not my type. And then it just got really weird. Then she started fucking a guy that was opening for me, and it got even weirder. And yeah, it was just like, what do you call it? Fatal Attraction type shit.
Yeah, baby reindeer type shit.
I haven't seen it yet, but I heard. But yeah, it was awkward. It was uncomfortable. And then she was literally fucking some guy that was opening for me to try and get close to me. And then I was like, I had to fill him in on the situation, and he was this meth head. He didn't give a fuck, and he fucked her a bunch of times anyways. She'd pay for a hotel room. We'd be at the bar. He'd go over there and fuck her, turn around, come back, and I'd be like, you were only gone for 20 minutes. And he was like, yeah, went and fucked her, and I left. So she was just mentally unstable. That's the worst one that I've ever had. But, you know, when you're on stage and you peek up and you see this same person in the back of your show for like 5 shows in a row, it's uncomfortable.
Yeah, it becomes pretty unsettling, I imagine. Just seeing that.
Yeah, especially when you're not famous. Especially just when you're just a regular dude doing stand-up, you know?
Yeah, there's no way you can really fight back against it and make a press conference where you can just be like, this person's crazy.
All you're doing is looking over your shoulder when you're driving home from the club to make sure she's not following you.
So, all right. Well, I had to ask because you brought it up.
No worries. No worries. It's all good. And like I said, once this is all over, if I am allowed to talk about it, I'll definitely let you know. We can discuss it.
All right, buddy. All right.
So, all right. I'm going to email you later tonight a script so you have the format for what is it? The King of Straw Mats?
Yeah, and go ahead and send me those stand-up clips too. I mean, I can send those over to the dopey guy. I'd be happy to check them out, and I could at least give you my opinion on worst to best.
If I send you any stand-up, just keep it between us because
it'll all be between. And unless I specify otherwise, it'll be all between us from now on, unless I ask you about it. So.
Yeah, because I definitely don't want any of that getting out until I record and release whatever I release on a platform.
No, you're good.
But yeah, if there's a bit that I want to fucking get your opinion on, I'll send them. I just haven't fucking had any time to edit video, so it'll be a while. But let me get you the fucking script at least so you have that.
Yeah, send me whatever you want. And all right, touch base cool, later bro. If you have any other concerns, just let me know.
It was a miscommunication. It's all good. I just don't want to have it ever coming up and having it out in the public. And like I said, I've known Sam for 23 years. I know when he's sober and when he's not sober. I don't think he's sober.
Yeah.
And all I need is a guy that's doing meth with a gun showing up to my doorstep.
Totally. I haven't watched him for years either, but yeah, I've been hearing that people are saying he's not sober as of late, so it's definitely possible.
Yeah. All right, cool, man. Give me like an hour, and I'll within the hour I'll send you a script.
All right, thank you, bro. Talk to you later.
You got, bro.
Bye now.
Bye.
I'm getting a call from Chris Neff right now, who's a very popular podcaster. Let's give him an answer here. Hey, what's up, Chris? How's it going, dude?
Not much. When did you change your name to Cult Meeting?
On Instagram?
Yeah.
Well, my handle is still keatonlhudema, but Cult Meeting is my website, cultmeeting.com.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm actually streaming on X right now. There's not many viewers, but I'm just trying to figure out a couple things here. I wanted to give you a call.
I need to make this really clear to you, okay? I need to make this dead clear to you. You are not a journalist. A journalist will respect somebody's privacy. They will make...
You're cutting out. You're cutting out.
You want to hide behind the fact...
Okay, now I can hear you.
You fucking fuck.
You cut out. Here you go. Go ahead.
You are not a Okay, listen to me. You are not a journalist, okay? A journalist would say, Chris, I want to interview you, and are you interested, and will you give me consent because you are on the record? You said, I am live streaming. That could mean you're playing Twitch or jacking off. I have no idea I was being recorded. The point is, after me telling you this, you told me you would take it down. Then you chose to put it back up. You're not a journalist. You don't have ethics. You're a piece of scum. Okay? I
gave you well and free warning that I was live streaming and that people were watching. You
Dude,
fucked up.
Listen to it, you fuck. You literally said, I'm live streaming on X right now. You didn't say you are too. Live streaming could mean anything.
If I'm live streaming and it's my
On
voice,
a fucking website.
if I'm live streaming and it's my voice, what do you expect? It's my
Buddy,
voice.
You're probably recording this anyway. I don't give a fuck. You're a deadbeat loser that lives in his mom's basement.
It was out there, Chris.
Phantom of the Opera mask.
It was out
Fuck
there.
you.
It's
You're just a dork, dude.
okay. That's fine. The point is, it was out
You're
there.
gonna go fucking put this on the internet for fun?
I don't know, man. I feel kind of bad about it, but yes, I am
You
recording
don't
this.
feel bad about it.
I feel bad about.
Yesterday,
I feel bad about
apologized.
causing this emotional
Yesterday,
reaction with you.
Listen to me, you fuck.
Go ahead, man.
Yesterday, you apologized and said it was a miscommunication. But then you got
I did not apologize. I did not apologize.
fucking subscriber account.
I did not apologize to you, Chris.
And blow up.
Chris.
It's yesterday's news already.
I did not
And all
apologize to
did,
you.
You fuck. You do not respect other people. Okay?
I gave you a fucking warning that I'm recording you, dude.
Dude, we already had this conversation.
I'm not trying to
I
have
never
it.
heard that.
I'm not trying to have a
Okay?
fiery
You said it was
argument
a
with you.
miscommunication.
And before that point, can I tell you what I did? I had already messaged or emailed Sam, posted many Reddit threads, and had the
Why?
video
Why? Because you don't
and
have
the
a
X.
fucking life?
This was before I messaged you. This was before I even knew that you weren't cool with it. The way that we
Why the
set
fuck,
it up,
if you're a journalist, would you not ask your subject?
I told you straight up. You called me.
You said I'm
I
live
called you the
streaming.
day
Does that mean,
before.
hey, you're live? Does that mean I'm recording you? That doesn't look up
If
the
I'm
definition.
live
What is the
streaming-
definition of live streaming, you fucking retard?
Okay, you're gonna pretend you didn't fuck up there? I mean, come on. I said I was
No,
live
no,
streaming.
you're not throwing
And
this
that
on me.
people were
I
watching.
told you personal things about my life.
I
and know
said-
you're recording the conversation. Are you out of your fucking mind?
I told you very clearly that people were watching. I said not very
No,
many
no, no,
people
no.
are
You
watching.
said I'm live streaming, and I think there's a couple people listening.
No, I didn't say I think. There was no I think. It's right there for you to
Bro,
hear.
Bro,
I
do whatever you
said
want.
there
We're done.
are people
We're done.
watching.
We're done.
I mean, clearly we're done. I'm not trying to establish a. I mean, Jesus Christ, dude. I'm curious if I should call him back. I'm not sure if I should. He's clearly insanely pissed off. We'll see. He's a fucking idiot. It's the first time I ever talked to him. Who the fuck just spills the beans the first time you talk to somebody on the fucking internet? This guy's crazy.
you ever call me again, I'll fucking snap your neck off. You got that? Fuck off.
Dude, the point is... Oh my God. This guy's fucking crazy. Okay. So, I am hoping that this will be the last video, the last time I ever have to post about this Chris Neff situation, because it's gotten way out of hand, and to be quite frank, it's gotten fucking ridiculous. You know what? I may need 2 zins for this one. So, in that last video that I made about Chris, where he threatened to snap my neck if I called him again, he had made all these claims in the beginning of that video about how a journalist is supposed to say all these very particular things. How I'm supposed to say, you are on the record, or will you do an interview with me? Here's the thing. I never expected there to be a goddamn interview. I was expecting that this would be maybe a 5-minute phone call or this very quick thing. And even then, I made it extremely clear to anyone with 2 brain cells to rub together that I was streaming on X and that people were watching because I wanted him to know. And I said it that way because streaming is a little different than just simply recording. I wanted him to know that not only is this being recorded, this is being recorded and uploaded as we go. It's a stream. And he is pretending he doesn't know what that means. In that video, he even said that he thought I said there's a couple people listening. That's enough of an acknowledgement right there. And on top of that, he watched that video, and in the description, I had put that I very well may end up getting a restraining order against this guy, because that was something that I thought I actually might have to do. He seemed that angry. So he watched it, and then he
sends me these messages about it. And the most concerning was a message that said, "You better get on that restraining order ASAP." Think about what that would mean to you. What does that mean to you? Because to me, that was a very clear substantiation of his threat. And him saying, basically, get on that because I'm going to try and find you before you file that shit. That's how I interpreted it. This is a guy who has been in the entertainment industry. I think he said in the interview he's been a comedian for over 20 years. And I know he's been a podcaster for a few years as well. He's got no excuse. He knows what a stream is. And something that I'm now starting to believe is he did know what was going on. And he knew that the call was being recorded. And then he ended up regretting it. I don't know why. Maybe it was that he saw I was reaching out to Sam's community. Maybe he saw that. Maybe he just thought I was weird. Or maybe he just regretted it in general. But that is something that I'm also now starting to believe. And I took it down for him the first time. I deleted the video. I didn't just private it. I deleted the video at his request because I was concerned for him and to give myself time to think about it. Once I realized and thought about how the YouTube video had almost 700 views, the Extreme had several views, I had emailed Sam for comment and made Reddit posts about it. I made the decision that it was too late. And it was out there. And he's not getting that. He's not getting it. That was the first time I ever talked to him verbally. That interview was the first time we ever spoke. I'd had Instagram DM correspondence with him for a while before that, but first time we ever spoke. Had nothing to compare it to. And anybody who watches it, it really just seems like he was being nice and giving me this inside scoop and this cool story. If I was some insanely popular streamer, let's say I had 20,000 live viewers, how quickly would he have just accepted that it was his fault? Immediately. He would have immediately said, "Oh, that's my bad. Well, I fucked up." But because it's me, he is persistently putting the blame on me, saying that I don't have ethics, which I do. That's why I informed him that I was streaming. I'm in a one-party consent state. I could have been shady. I could have not disclosed that to him. And from my understanding, actually even a two-party consent state, the fact that I did disclose it and he continued on with the call would have been enough for me to have the okay to post it, from my understanding. I don't know what he was trying to say with the get on the restraining order ASAP. Part of me wants to give him the benefit of the doubt, because later on I did go back and read those messages, and below that he said something like, I'm gonna go and file something against the Phantom of the Opera guy, or the guy who's never gotten his dick wet. As if he can throw that as a stone. He's throwing that as a stone at me. Not that I care. He can make whatever insults he wants. I do not give a fuck about any of the ad hominem attacks that he's been throwing at me, because as you could tell in that call, I just deflected and allowed him to hang himself, and he really did. He really hung himself in the worst way that he could have, and it's sad to me because I liked the guy and thought he was cool. Now I think he's a fucking idiot. The threat was enough. That was crossing the line. You don't threaten violence against people. That is completely unacceptable. And for him to amp it up and say, you better get on that restraining order, that actually did kind of freak me out. Because I don't know how far this guy's going to go. I don't know how insane he is. So, for him to act like he has any kind of moral high ground after that shit, get out of here, dude. Get out of here. I think he owes me an apology. I don't expect to get it. He had a lot to gain. In that interview, he talked about how the fallout with Sam was basically because he wouldn't apologize for something that kind of was him being a dick, probably.
I don't know what the full story is. He's trying to argue with Sam's lady, wouldn't apologize. And he had a lot to gain from simply humbling himself there, saying sorry. Wouldn't do it. So I don't expect him to do it for me. I would like some clarification, at least. Say you're bluffing. Say that. Explain what you meant by get on that restraining order. I think he has a responsibility to at least do those two things. I'm trying to think of what else I really had to say about it. I guess just for some clarification, I had said in that one video I called you the day before, I had tried to call him. But yeah, like I said, this is the first time we ever spoke. I tried to call him and he called me back and I was streaming. So that's how it happened. He even said once when I called him before I deleted it, and once afterwards when he was pissed off, the time during the call, he said, you can do whatever you want. And in reference to either deleting or not deleting it. And then once he was all pissed off, it was like the same thing, but a lot more angry, where he was like, do whatever you fucking want. I don't care. Well, I am. Video's staying up. And it's no one's fault but your own if that's not something you wanted. Now you've humiliated yourself on top of that. One of the reasons he gave me was he was talking about how his name being used in the promotion of Cash Daddies, like in the Reddit and the YouTube, I think, he was saying, oh, they're using my name so I can use that as an exhibit in court. So if they find out, they're going to take my name out. It's like, no, you were on that podcast. I'm pretty sure they're allowed to use your name if you were on it. You were a host on it at one point. I think they're allowed to say that you were. So just everything he's been saying is so illogical and it's silly. It's really silly. If he did apologize, I'd forgive him in a second. Absolutely. And that would be very relieving to know that there's not some homicidal psycho who is interested in harming me. I think that's all I have to say. Chris, if you're watching this, I will not be contacting you directly again, ever. It'd be nice if you put that stuff out there that I requested, or you can message me. I'm not going to message you back. But besides that, fuck off and go back to fucking your cats. Like,
I want to tell you about the new hit podcast, Cult Meeting Podcast. That's right. It combines the occult, spirituality with libertarianism, okay? Tell me that isn't an awesome mixture of stew of chaos. That's right. It's hosted by Keaton, and it's a wonderful podcast. Okay, it's a great podcast. You guys check it out. It's esoteric thinking, occultism, libertarianism. It's got all of it, dude. You want to get weird politically? Check out the podcast, Cult Meeting Podcast. Go for it. Do yourself a favor and listen, learn, love, okay? Listen, learn, and love, because this podcast has it all. You want some tools for your tool belt? Check out Cult Meeting Podcast, available wherever you listen to podcasts. Holla at your boy.
You know, they're going to have a genetically modified Sam Tripoli. God forbid you ever take the vaccine.
I'll fight everybody, dog.
You know,
I ain't even kidding.
Here's something interesting. What is that? Are you listening to your own podcast? Here's another thing I think is interesting, and it somehow got on the mainstream news the other day. You know, remember the president was treated with
Tell me that.
Come on, man.
It's very loud. Monoclonal antibody.